Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Grow Your Business Smarter, Live Your Optimal Life TV show. Hi, I'm Dr. Davia Shepherd. I host this TV show. We show up here at 11 a.m. every single Tuesday morning for one purpose and one purpose only. And that is for us all to get together and have some conversation about what it really takes to grow our businesses. But while we're growing our businesses, can we live our lives too? Can we be outside of that lane that is struggle and stress and strain and hustle? And trust me, I used to be on, as Barb, our business bestie, says, I used to be on the struggle bus too. Guys, I was a high performing woman back when I was in that corporate space. And even in coming into private practice from working for Big Pharma for many, many years, it was all push and drive and make it happen. And then I learned a different way. And that different way is a new business paradigm. It's all about collaboration. It's what women have been wanting to do for years and years and years and years. And it's what happens when we link arms together and we support each other. And nobody has to struggle or stress or strain, and everybody wins. You know that saying, the rising tide lifts all boats? That's what happens. So that's what this show is devoted to. We're devoted to having conversations about how we can actually achieve that 6, 7, maybe 8-figure business that we all are dreaming of, not because of that dollar figure, but because when we are able to not be worrying about how our bills are going to be met or how our needs are going to be met, we are able to serve the people who we're here to serve. We're able to serve more of them. We're able to, in a much bigger way, reach the people who are losing sleep at night because they need the thing that we provide. And so that's what our conversation is all about. I want to invite you to keep joining in on this conversation, because every single day over in our Ladies Power Lunch Facebook group, we're having conversations about all of these things, and you will have an opportunity to meet every single one of the women who have been guests on this show and get to know them in a deep and personal way. And also maybe someday link arms with them and see your boat rise as well. So if you want to join us, go to growsmarternotharder.com/Facebook, and you can join our Facebook group over there. On with the show. Today's guest, oh my goodness, you guys, I say it every single week. I love her, but I really, really do love her so much. Lori and I go way back, and we were both part of the same coaching program where we were learning how to be transformational coaches and learning how to be, I want to say, retreat leaders. We were being certified round about the same time. And so we were in the same cohort coming up. So when I tell you I know this lady, I know this lady. And I know that she brings a wealth of information and a wealth of transformation to this conversation. So I invite you, tune in. I'm going to just sit back and invite Lori to share with everybody. She's also one of our #1 sponsors for our Ladies Power Lunch Summits. And over the years, she's been a co-author with us on so many of our best-selling Ladies Power Lunch anthologies. She rides with us over here at Ladies Power Lunch. And I am so grateful for that, so grateful for her friendship, and so grateful to be able to share her wisdom with you today. So Lori, can you share in your own words with everybody who you are and tell them a little bit about the amazing things that you're doing in the world?
Yes, thank you, Davia, and happy holidays to everybody. It's great to be on at this time. I know there was another day that we had originally thought of, and then we switched, and I was like, great, it's really the holiday week. So it's so great to be here with everyone. So how I describe myself is evolving, and that's part of who I am and how I help my clients. But the way I'd like to describe myself today is that I am a transformational leadership and life coach, and I support leaders, mainly women, and women entrepreneurs, to unveil and uncloak their potential. and their potential is really their greatness. And how do they go about doing that? It's working on being unmuted, to be able to use their voice to be more visible, to become expansive, to take those bold steps, and to really co-create. And the way I like to say it is with spirit, to listen to what their heart and their soul is telling them, so that they can make the biggest impact that they'd like to in the world. So that's really, what I focus on. And in the training that Davia and I have had all these years, I've been saying I want to hold a retreat in Sedona, which is now that I'm in Arizona. And so one of the things that I have recently made a commitment to do is to hold that retreat in March in Sedona. So part of that is a focus on helping women to move from being kind of like living on the edge of life, being more of that spectator at somewhere in their life, whether it might be personal or career or relationships, and to really take that bold step to then be in the driver's seat. And one of the things that I was saying to Davia came to me this morning as I was washing my hair. You know how those things come to us.
Good to know you washed your hair, Lori. Thanks for sharing that nugget.
When I was thinking of, well, what is leadership like to me? It is how I try to live my life and try to support others. And it's soul or spirit or source inspired. It's compassion driven, and it's executed with intention. And I was like, oh my gosh, yes, that feels so much in alignment with who I am, what I do, and what I support others to do. And Janet, yeah, I see that you can resonate with that as well. But it's that spirit inspired versus that ego inspired. So when I think about helping people to kind of get off of that edge of living from more of a spectator's place in their life, it is listening to the spirit, listening to their soul. And then we can bring our egos and all of our, focus on facts and tasks in, because obviously we need that to then execute. But if we're using that as the initial driver or the initial inspiration, we can get stuck. And so it's like boom, it's like, yes, that makes a lot of sense.
I love that you remind us that spirit first is the way to go into this planning for the new year. Because even having the broadest strokes of a plan is important, but having it be infused by spirit, that makes a whole big difference. But a lot of people might be saying, Lori, it's easy for you to say Lori because you're Lori, so you can say anything. I mean, whatever.
Right.
But can you give people a little bit of your background so they understand it's not always sunshine and roses, and still you get up every single day and you support the women that you're here to serve?
Yeah, I mean, I think that even like having this realization this morning, I mean, I have a 30 plus year background in human resources around leadership. I've trained leaders and coached leaders for many, many years, even before I left corporate and started my own business. But I think who I am today is really informed by all of the challenges and experiences that I've had, where I've had to reinvent myself and I've had to take those bold leaps, whether it was to start my own business or leave a 32-year marriage or move across the country at the time that COVID was just starting. All of those things, dealing with some very, major illnesses through childhood, all of those things has really helped me to understand what it takes and to be able to relate to other people and support them in doing the same. And I think when I think of leadership, and one of the things I talked about at the summit, where there's like 8 characteristics that I think is really important for the leader for tomorrow and what the world is asking of us, it's being aligned, authentic, bold, collaborative, creative, visible, vulnerable, and well. And well, including physical wellness, emotional, financial. And many of you know, I'm talking also about geographical wellness. So it's like all of those things, I think, is really what the world is asking of us now. It's spirit first and taking care of ourselves first. Then we have to give to be able to support everyone else in our businesses. So
So
no, it's not always been roses.
I know. Oh, Lori, I've been there right beside you, for many of those things that you have mentioned. So I know those
Yeah.
stories firsthand. But you mentioned, your 8 steps to leadership, the kind of leadership that the world really needs now.
Yeah.
Can you say again what those 8 steps are?
Yes. Yes. And I've got like a description that I can also send to people if anyone's interested of what each of those mean. But it's being aligned. And that's really with, kind of our goals, our values, being authentic, really showing up as our true selves and being genuine and trustworthy. Bold, taking those risks. Sometimes they're calculated, sometimes they're not. Sometimes we're taking a risk that we may not even understand because it's being spirit led, being collaborative. And I know you talk a lot about that, Davia, creative. So bring our whole selves to everything that we do, being visible. And I know we talk a lot about that in Ladies Power Lunch as well. How can we be visible so that people know the gifts and the talents that we have to offer? Being vulnerable, and our friend and, Ladies Power Lunch member, Wendy Lee, talks a lot about being vulnerable, being able to stand in front of people and like me today saying, yeah, I might look great sometimes being all put together on the outside, but inside I'm human just like anyone else, experiencing these changes and these transitions and crossing these thresholds. And I'm doing that at the same time that I'm helping my clients. So it's an evolutionary process, really. And then, so the financial wellness, emotional, spiritual, and geographical.
I love all of these. These are outstanding touch points. I love checklists. For all of you
Yeah.
who know me, who know about my background coming from working in hospitals, working in pharma, having a checklist for things can make the difference in that kind of situation between somebody having a good day or somebody having a really, really like their worst day. And so I love checklists and being able to have these checkpoints, making sure that we're aligned, that our value system is what is driving the connections and the decisions that we're making in our lives. That's so important. Being authentic, showing up as ourselves, because I can raise my hand and say that code switching is something that used to be a big part of my life. I mean, even just wearing my hair curly was not, I couldn't even be
not acceptable,
that authentic. This is my natural hair. This is what it looks like. And I was not, I didn't feel comfortable being my authentic self back in that corporate life. So I know the importance of being authentic. And I'm sure a lot of curly hair gals out there can relate to that. I mean, I know we're not just talking about hair, but it's everything, right?
It is. It is.
Being bold, taking those risks. I have gone from working in corporate to being in private practice to now being a coach. What? I was sitting at, tell you a funny story, Lori, sitting at a networking thing the other day, and there's a woman who's sitting beside me, really high-powered, amazing titan of industry sitting beside me. And so she said to me, so Dr. Davia, what kind of doctor are you? And I said to her, well, I am transitioning out of direct patient care, and my focus right now is supporting women in business so that they can know that they can have the amazing business of their dreams without the struggle and the stress and the strain. And my job is to get them visible in front of 20 to 50,000 of their ideal clients through the power of collaboration. That's how I introduced
It
myself
was
when I'm
like,
out there
wow.
networking, right, guys? But
Yeah,
here's the
yeah.
deal. She looked at me like I had five heads, not four, not three, not two, not one,
Mhm,
five
mhm.
heads.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah. Yeah.
Because
People
there
don't talk
is
about it that way.
there is no room for us to take these bold steps to say, yeah, I spent a lot of years learning how to be a doctor, but you know what beats my heart is working with women. So being
Yeah.
bold, that's huge. Collaboration, oh my goodness, everybody take a drink. That's the
I
rule
know.
of the show. When I say collaboration, everybody takes a drink, because that's my deal. I believe that when we link arms, when we support each other, everybody wins. And then you talk about being creative, letting the real essence of you infuse your business. I think that's amazing. You talk about being visible. Hello, visibility. We're all day long
Yeah.
talking to women about being visible, and also what's holding you back from being visible. There sometimes is a little hold up. You talk about being vulnerable. Well, that can be hard, that can be challenging, and also so important to, I think it
Mhm.
ties in with that authenticity piece.
It does. Yeah, it definitely does.
And as a physician, wellness, mental, spiritual, emotional, and health
Yeah.
wellness, all of that has to be taken into account. I feel like you've hit all the main points. So if somebody's watching along and they're like, okay, fine, we like watching these shows and getting all this esoteric information,
Yeah.
but give us some practical stuff, some do's and don'ts for infusing that leadership into our business as we also are moving into growing for 2023. What are some do's and don'ts that you would recommend, Lori?
I think we need to start with us first. We do. I mean, I think we can grow our business and really focus daily basis on all of those things that we hear are important to do that. But we also need to be taking the time to do some professional development and some of that soul searching ourselves. I mean, if we don't take care of ourselves that way, our business is only going to grow to a certain level. Because as entrepreneurs, our business is very tied to who we are and how we show up. So if we're showing up, with more confidence and more our spirit inspiring us, we're going to connect with people differently than if we're not doing that. So to me, kind of like the number one step is really to spend some of that quality time in whatever feels best for us, but where we're taking care of ourselves and we're growing internally. So whatever that is, I mean, I know we've all said, we've got meetings, we've got phone calls, we've got this, we've got that. Oh, I had my walk on my schedule. I'll let that go because of all these other things being important. Or I was dealing with a client yesterday who said, I feel so driven that I have to work all the time. I don't have time to go to the gym. And now she's starting to have some physical issues as a young woman. And so it's kind of bringing this all back up again. How good is she going to be at her job if she's having physical problems, if she needs to leave work early or whatever? So it's kind of looking at how is that self-care really being as important as everything else that we're doing. So to me, that's kind of the foundation.
So if you were to give us a piece of homework, again,
Yeah.
it's a practical, right? If you were to give us
Yeah.
a piece of homework, something that we can do
Yeah.
till we
I would
see you
say,
again, Lori, what would that be?
yeah, I would say between now and January 1st, what I would strongly suggest is take out 30 minutes, 45 minutes between now and then, and really write down the important things to you. And then take a look at how much time are you spending doing that. And then pick one item on that list to make it a priority and to start doing it. And reach out to someone who is close to you, who you know will support you and hold you accountable to start doing that one thing.
Mhm, mhm.
And then really be, cognizant of how it's changing your life and how it's changing your business, and celebrate that.
Celebration. I love that, because so many times we achieve something or we do something that's on our to-do list, or we actually do the self-care thing that we've been planning to do for so long, and then we're just on to the next thing.
Yeah.
Celebration anchors that in
It
our
does.
psyche.
It does. Yeah.
What has your experience been when it comes to taking time to celebrate our wins?
I do it often now. I would say probably over the last 3 years, but I didn't. I was just like you said, I was a workaholic. I can totally admit to that now. And my worthiness was all tied in to what I did in my corporate life. And I no longer feel that way. And so it's a lot easier to take the time to celebrate, because my worthiness is not so narrowly defined. And any little steps that I take are really things to be celebrated. And Davia, I'll share one other, quick story. So I work with my clients a lot on developing their personal kind of like core purpose statement. And I was introduced about a month ago to an organization that's called the Why Institute. And what they do is they have this really, you would find this amazing. They have this cool, and they don't call it an assessment, they call it a discovery tool, that it helps you very easily say your why, your how, and your what. And that has changed my world in the last month. And so just to give an example, my why, and there's only 9 of them, is better way. I'm constantly looking for a better way to do things, to bring efficiencies in, to innovate, to create, to help other people. That's where my expansion magic comes in. And then how I do that is through mastery, through ongoing learning and personal growth and information and details, and getting at a very deep level of things. And what do I deliver? I deliver a trusting relationship. I deliver solutions that people can count on and that work for them. And it was like, again, right there. And what would it be to know your current clients and potential clients, how, why, how, and what? It's like, oh my gosh, what a tool.
That's amazing.
So it's like, woo.
Is this open and available to people who are not part of the program, or do you have to be a part of the program to participate in that?
I mean, there is a cost to take what they call their Y.OS discovery tool, but I'm actually becoming certified to be able to do that and to work with other people on it. But the process that I've used in the past helps people to get at that, but in a much longer time frame. In like 10 minutes, you can get all this information, and it's like, oh my goodness, so it's fascinating. So it's fascinating. So when you just think about how we can do that for ourselves, and then how could that potentially impact our business? If you have that information with people that you're working with, you can zero in immediately on how best to work with them and what drives them. So
I love it. I know people are going to want to reach out to you, Lori, and even if it's just to get more information about this tool, because this sounds amazing. How can people connect with you?
Yeah, I would say right now the best way is through either LinkedIn under my name, Lori Raggio, or my email, Lori@inspiregreatnesscoaching.com.
Lori at inspiregreatnesscoaching.com. Thanks so much for sharing that with us, Lori. I pulled a card for us today, and this is from a newer deck that I got. And it says, think about things that are excellent and worthy of praise. I feel like that fits in with what we've been talking about today.
Yeah. Yeah.
Feels right on point, doesn't it?
It does. It definitely does.
It feels like a really good reminder, especially in this time, in this season. For those of you who might be watching this evergreen, you're watching it maybe in the middle of summer. We're recording right now where it's winter, it's the holiday season, and there's a lot of hustle and bustle. We're also at the end of the year where people are making plans for their upcoming year for 2023. We're ending 2022, trying to tie everything in a nice tight bow. And we can get a little frazzled. It can be a little bit stressful. And I think this reminder to take a minute and think about things, because what you think about is what expands. So if we take this time to focus on things that are excellent, things that are worthy of praise, I feel like that's just the perfect ticket for riding right into 2023 and beyond. And beyond. Any final words for us, Lori?
I would say take that bold step. One bold step that's going to help you to feel more like that leader that really the world needs now. And, reach out to others if you need support and collaboration and being able to do that.
And join Ladies Power Lunch, Grow Smarter, Not Harder.
Ladies Power Lunch.
Ladies Power Lunch. GrowSmarterNotHarder.com/Facebook. You can come join us over there. We're happy to welcome you. Thank you so much for tuning in. We love you. We appreciate you taking time out of your schedule to hang out with us. And we'll see you on the next show.
Thank you.
All right. So for those of you who are sticking around, for those of you who are joining us on our YouTube channel, this show does not end at 11:30. We keep this conversation going because there's always so much more that we can dive more deeply into, and we can have more conversation, and we can welcome our guests who are joining us to come join the conversation as well. So I'm going to lead right into the next segment now, and I'm going to ask you, Lori, to introduce yourself again. So, hi, everybody. Welcome to the Ladies Power Lunch Show. Thank you so much for joining us. Hi, I'm Dr. Davia Shepherd. I am your host with the most, well, maybe not the most, but a whole lot going on. Here's the deal. We have an outstanding guest with us today. Many of you might be familiar with Lori Raggio because she is back by popular demand. We've actually had her on the show before, and people have said, we want more. And so guess what? Got to give the people what they want. Welcome back, Lori. Can you share with everybody who you are and what it is that you do in the world?
Yes, I'm a transformational leadership and life coach. I work with women leaders and entrepreneurs to really take a look at how they're living their life. Are they living their life and some portion of it on the edge? Meaning, are they holding back? Are they being a spectator? Are they being an observer? And do they want to take a big, bold leap to be more of an active participant? I like to say a co-creator. So a co-creator with spirit, source, soul, and really creating the life that they desire and they deserve. So it's wonderful to be back, and I'm looking forward to the conversation.
So tell us a little bit about how you got here. Why did you decide that doing this kind of work was going to be the important thing for you?
I really think, most of my career was in some kind of helping profession. I started out in, believe it or not, in the substance abuse field. I worked in as a clinician. My very first job was a clinician in the night shift in a treatment center, inpatient treatment center.
Mhm.
And then I went from there to creating programs, family programs, in outpatient, and kind of went to the employee assistance field, and then learning and development and human resources. And then finally left that career after about 30 years and started my own business. But kind of the theme throughout all of those was really being that good listener and that person who was so curious about others' lives and helping them to become great, helping them to really tap into all of their, talents and values and goals. And so it was kind of one thing that led to another, and here I am.
Awesome. I love that, Lori. And I love one of the things that I love about your trajectory and mine is that there's nothing that says that you have to do the same thing forever and
Yeah.
ever and ever and ever and ever and ever.
Yeah.
But your core values never changed.
Right. Right.
And that's amazing. So no matter whether you were working in inpatient care or whether you're coaching executive women, it doesn't matter. Your values are the same. Yeah, I
Mhm.
love that. If you are here joining us in person and live, we do invite you to come off mute and turn your camera on and join in on the conversation. Come introduce yourself to our guests. Let everybody know a little bit about you and your business and what you're up to. So, Lori, we were talking a little bit earlier, and I'd love if you'd share with our audience a little bit about what you feel it really takes to be the leader that the world needs now.
Yeah, I think what I was sharing was that there's 8 characteristics that I feel like I try to embody on a daily basis in my own business, and that I support other women and really men. I mean, it's any leader. And it's being aligned, being authentic, being bold, collaborative, creative, visible, vulnerable, and well. And I think certainly lots of different things, go into every single one of those. But I think when we look at what is the world requiring of us now, it's those things. It's taking care of ourselves, being very self-aware, providing time to engage in our own, professional and personal development, and then being able to be available to support others.
I love the 8 steps that you mentioned, and I am a firm believer in steps and lists and all of that stuff. It's not for everybody. Look, there's some people who prefer a more nebulous structure to getting from their point A to point B.
Yeah.
But my experience working in patient care, working in more of a hospital setting, working in more of a, working for big pharma, lists are the deal, guys. Like,
Yeah.
I remember I had a textbook that was checklists. One whole textbook that was checklist. Like, if you're doing this particular procedure, you need to make sure that you have checked all these things. Like, I mean, classic example, sitcom example. You don't want to leave the sponge in the patient, right? That's just like,
yes,
not acceptable. So I love lists. Just saying all of that randomness to say I love lists. So I invite you to, will you share with us, like go into a little bit more detail about each of these steps. But before you do, I want to say thank you to Janet for joining in with us today. I love when our viewers, our listeners, our Ladies Power Lunch members pop in to the show because it gives our other listeners an opportunity to see what type of business does this information really work for. So Janet, can you share who you are and tell us a little bit about your business?
Absolutely. Well, thanks for including me in this. So I could really resonate with much of what was being shared because I started my career in as an educator and administrator, and I oversaw 47 schools throughout the Northeast. I left that career when my son was little and went into biotechnology. And then I ended that career to retire mostly and followed my passion, which is health and wellness, because I've had a 40-year journey with an undiagnosed disease and have been a study case at both Yale and the NIH. And so that journey has led me to learn so much about holistic health and wellness and became a certified health coach. And so I also got involved with a wellness company and am now very involved with helping others to just take back their health.
What would you say, Janet, was a through line? Because we're talking about being aligned and, having a sense of what your values are. What would you say is the through line with all the different areas of business that you have been a part of over the many years?
I think it has to do with something Lori said earlier about being, well, I call it heart-centered, and I think spirit channels through me in the form of love. And in any of the businesses that I've been involved with has been just channeling that through my work in every single way. And just, I've been in so many leadership positions, and I think the important thing is letting other people know that you see them, you hear them, you support them, you inspire them. And those are some of the core values in any of the work that I do.
I love that. I absolutely love that. So Lori, share with us, give us a little insight to each of these 8 just brilliant checks that we need to be able to check off on our to-do list.
Yeah. So alignment is really around, and Janet really talked about this. It's our behaviors, our thoughts, our beliefs, and our actions. It's like all of those things are in sync. And when they are in sync, then I think it's easier to show up as a very authentic person. And so the authenticity is the being true to ourselves and being genuine. And that kind of results then in being a trustworthy person with everybody that we come into contact with. Bold, and I saw this acronym, and I can't even remember exactly where I saw it, but it's brilliant, original, legendary, and daring as the acronym for bold. And I was like, oh yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So it's showing up with, authority, with confidence, with the ability to stand for what we strongly believe in. And again, that kind of energy comes out in how we're interacting with other people. Collaborative, leadership is not a solo journey. And I know, Davia, you're the queen of collaboration. So creativity, it's being innovative. It's taking all of our skills and our talents and our experience and our passions and infusing everything that we do with that. Being visible, so being seen, being heard, being acknowledged, being radically present. not shying away from being out there, again, kind of with everything that we have to offer, being vulnerable, being open, being honest, being willing to accept feedback. And then wellness, we were talking about, physical, emotional, spiritual, financial, and geographical. So it's like all of those different areas of our lives, if we're as well as we can possibly be, the way we will show up with clients and potential clients and colleagues, it will be so different than if we're not. So hopefully that a little bit more kind of helps people to understand those 8.
Well, yes, and I mean, okay, so let's say I have a business.
Yeah.
How do I really make sure that I'm aligned in my business? What are some of the do's and don'ts for that alignment? Let's go through the whole list and like really narrow down to the
I know,
do's
and you're
and
always so
don'ts.
good because you push me all the time on the details, which is so fascinating. Because just a quick story, that's where I used to live my life, in the details and the checklists and all of that. Thanks, Janet. And one of the things that I've done to align better with who I truly am that supports my business is to allow more flow and freedom.
Mhm.
And yes, the checklists and those kinds of tasks help with the execution. But when I'm designing, or when I'm really trying to get a sense of where do I want to go with something, to be in alignment for me is to listen to my soul. And so with this retreat that I am developing, one of the things that I noticed, and Davia, you've heard me talk about this for 2 years now, is that I finally got to the point where I went with my gut and my intuition. And I said, that's where I'm making my decision from. Pulled out a calendar and said, here's the dates, without thinking about and not even having a location yet. And now my ego and all of my, talents around tasks and all of that will kick in because I need to do that. But it was taking me a long time to make that commitment because I was driving with my ego.
Mhm, mhm.
So that to me is something around alignment. It's like getting that initial sense and understanding of where we really want to go, but not from an ego standpoint. It's more from a soul or spirit standpoint. Then using all those other talents of ours to make it happen.
So start with spirit, kind of put ego to the side. I love that.
Yeah.
In our community, there's a lot of talk about vulnerability and being authentic.
Mhm.
We talk about it a lot, but these are, and to the point where they've almost become like throwaway words.
Yeah. Yeah.
How would you say that we can actually put some life back into those words, and how
Yeah.
can we, in a practical way, infuse those into our business?
Yeah, and I'm trying to think of like even an example of working with one of my clients. So here's an example. Talking with one of my coaching clients yesterday, she was talking about kind of who the person is that she wants to be in order to be successful as a leader, as an executive in this organization. And she was realizing that she was putting all of her eggs into her time at work and really not spending as much time on her own health in relationships. which also for her included dating. And as the conversation went from blocking time on her schedule so that she could get the things done at work that she needed to do, she realized that she needs to block time on her personal life. So we talked about what is alignment for her. And it brings up that conversation about values. And so if you know your foundational values and you apply that to both your business and your personal life, you will be more in alignment. Life will feel easier. It won't feel so difficult. It will be easier to make decisions, small decisions, important, big decisions, because you're basing it on the foundation of your values. And so that then made sense to her. She started thinking about it and she's like, oh my goodness, yes, I'm not going to be able to be that person, that professional, that executive that I want to be if I'm not getting enough sleep, if I'm not spending time with family and friends, if I'm not potentially putting myself out there to possibly have this amazing, significant other, if I'm not going to the gym that I know makes me feel good at least a couple times a week. So she started to look at it differently because she looked at that alignment with her values. And she was able to kind of, describe those values and then apply it, both to what she was doing in her, business and what she was doing in her personal life. So I think that's an example.
I love examples, because the truth is we could talk about this in an abstract way all day long, but when you see how it actually works in somebody's life, then you can see how it can fit in for you. Give us do's and don'ts around the idea of, I feel like being bold and being visible kind of go together. How can we, New Year on the horizon, how can we really infuse our lives with more boldness and more visibility?
Well, I'll talk a little bit about, my involvement with Ladies Power Lunch and things that you're talking to our community about. I mean, my ability to be more bold and visible over the last year and a half has been through 5 book anthologies. Now, am I still working to learn how to monetize that and to bring in some additional clients by using, those book anthologies? Absolutely. But that was a huge step for me to be more bold and to be more visible and to get more of my story out there. So I think it's, again, going back to that alignment, going back to our values and, what would make most sense for us to be more bold and visible in alignment with our values. That's going to help us to grow our business. And, many people here know that Ladies Power Lunch has so many different options for us. And so it's looking at and making some of those decisions and just doing it. I always say, put your hand on your heart, close your eyes, don't go with what your head is telling you, but go with really what your gut and what your body is telling you and make that first step.
I hear what you're saying. And I mean, I'm gonna reserve the names to protect the innocent, but for example, had a conversation yesterday with one of our Ladies Power Lunch members, and we're talking about, her story. And then I am blown away by her story. And I'm saying to her, what you have been through, when you share this, it's really going to be helpful and supportive of a lot of people. And here's what she said to me. She said, there's almost an overwhelming and paralyzing fear around sharing that story, telling it to me, that's fine, because she knows where my heart lies and that this is a completely safe space. But sharing it with others, that's vulnerable, right?
Yes, it's
That
bold, it's
that's
visible, it's,
vulnerable.
yes,
That would be bold. That would be
yeah,
really, really being visible.
yeah.
And so there is there's a way to jump that hurdle.
Mhm.
I'm wondering what sort of things have you done with clients to help them to jump that
Mhm.
hurdle?
Sometimes I think it's taking the baby steps,
Mm-hmm.
right? So if I have a client like the client yesterday who said, okay, now I'm going to do, and she had a list of like 10 things. It's helping that person to look at one or two primary steps that she can take, that she can feel successful, that she can celebrate. You can always add more and more and more on top of it, right? But you have to have those feeling and those experiences that make you feel like it's all worthwhile. So I would figure one step, one action,
Mm-hmm.
followed by support and accountability and celebration, and then take the next one. So
And
for this person, it might be, taking the opportunity to post something in Ladies Power Lunch about her story. It's a safe place. It's a place that will be very accepting.
and
It can be
welcoming.
one piece, right? It can be one piece of her story.
Mm-hmm.
Based on that, maybe then it's going to a social media post. Maybe then it's going to a book anthology. Maybe then it's, it's like, it just is building on top of that. But it's taking that first step.
I love it. So we've talked about being aligned. We've talked about being authentic. We've talked about being bold, visible, and vulnerable. Give us some practical advice for being more collaborative.
Yeah. I mean, I think some of it's the same that we've been talking about, but it's finding like-minded people who you can engage in on a consistent basis to support your growth, to support your ideas, to bounce ideas off of, to see if there's ways to work together. My involvement with Ladies Power Lunch over the last few years, there's been multiple kinds of collaborations. Not only just the, book anthologies, but starting to work with Marianne Pack with some of the things that she's doing. And a collaboration might not necessarily be something that results in additional money, but it starts with conversations. It starts with reaching out to someone and saying, hey, I've got this idea and I'm the great idea person. I'm a great idea generator. I'm a great better processes and everything. So having a conversation to support someone else in the community to grow their idea and to put some legs on it, I love doing that.
Yes.
And so that's even a way of collaborating. And then who knows where that might go. So again, it's kind of taking those initial steps. And then eventually it might look like a book collaboration, or it might look like Marianne and I have talked about this and we're committing to 2023, but, doing a course, a virtual course and a workbook on honoring our worthiness.
Ooh,
So you just don't know where things are going to go.
Yeah.
So you just start and, be open and just see.
I am always collaborating. My ABCs are always be collaborating.
There you go.
ABC. So when it comes to collaborations, I'm all about it. And for those of you who are not as familiar with Ladies Power Lunch and you don't know about some of our offerings, right now we're inviting people to come be a part of our next cohort of collaborators. And that's when we get 20 people together and we collaborate on a list building project. We collaborate on a marketing project. We collaborate on an anthology, which becomes a bestseller as a result of our collaboration. We collaborate on a couple of summits together. We collaborate on masterminding together every single month. And so talk about collaboration. That's like the granddaddy of collaboration right there. Because when 20 people who have considerable followings come together, you end up getting your business and your message and your mission out there in front of somewhere. We did the math on the last collaboration that we did, somewhere between 20 to 50,000 people. It's pretty amazing. It's pretty outstanding. Yeah. So I recommend collaboration. I wrote a whole book about collaboration. And I always say to people, start small. Start small. Just start by getting to know people. And then also get to know yourself. Go within, spirit first, right? Ask, okay, so I'm thinking collaboration, but what do I really want out of a collaboration? What's in it for me? Sounds selfish, but it's actually where you have to start. Because if you don't know where you're going when you get there, how are you going to know?
Right.
So important. You talk about being creative. Practical advice about how we could be more creative as we lead our businesses.
For me, it's not allowing that little voice in our head to rule, if that makes any sense. So if I sit down, or if any of us sit down to come up with something new, we need to have some space. We need to probably be in an environment that is supporting that kind of free thinking. And then just initially, anything goes. Just kind of like allow all the ideas to come and write them down, and then worry about, bringing kind of the ego and the decisions and the, prioritizing all back in. But the initial step, I think, of being creative is to just allow everything and anything to come up. And so a lot of brainstorming for me kind of happens in the creative process. And it's also not typically a solo process either. Being creative is a process with others. It's more of a collaborative process.
We all know the power of the mastermind. When two or more get together, it becomes, the ideas that flow become so much more robust.
Yes.
If we were siloed trying to go through that creativity process all on our own. And so that's one of the reasons why every single month, both in our visibility circle and in our general membership, every single month we make time for the mastermind. We make time for those ideas to flow. I love that. And then your 8th step is focused in on wellness. And as we're coming up on time here, I would just close by saying that we need to take care of our physical plant. Yes, we have to take care of the whole spiritual side of things, but health and wellness, guys, not to be overlooked. Lori, this has been such a pleasure having conversation with you. Thank you so much for connecting with us today. Can you share your website so people know how to connect with you?
Sure. It's inspiregreatnesscoaching.com.
And of course, you can connect with Lori on all the social media. She's Lori Raggio, and she'd love to hear from you. Thank you so much, Lori. This has been a really, really lovely conversation. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in, and we'll see you guys on the next show. Bye, everyone.
Bye.